G'day guys, Steve here from Dirt Bike ADV. Sunday morning out in the shed, the usual story. I'm just making video number 3 in this series. We've talked about bike options for a budget lightweight ADV bike, and we've talked about actually buying the bike and what to look for. This third video, again, pretty short, but just going to talk about what is reasonably achievable as in maintenance on the bike you can do yourself, and what you shouldn't probably tackle yourself unless you're a mechanic or something like that. I've got 10 years of experience of riding motorbikes now, but it's certainly no mechanic, that's for sure. And then lastly, we'll just talk about tools and what sort of tools you probably need to realistically be able to do most of the maintenance items on the bike. When I talk about those maintenance items, I'm talking about things like, changing the oil, cleaning and re-oiling an air filter, just sort of replacing bearings in wheels and swing arms and that sort of thing. Changing a tyre, but again, you can buy the tyre from your dealer and take your wheel off and go get it fitted, but it sort of does pay to learn how to do it at some stage on the ground. So if it happens out on the trail somewhere, you can do it yourself. And also just general things like, checking spokes and keeping chain tensions right, and for that matter, changing chains and sprockets. And then probably lastly, the brakes, being able to change a set of disc pads, or in fact change a disc itself. All sorts of things that you can sort of do yourself with a little amount of knowledge, and certainly some Googling on YouTube, I suppose. And you can sort of save yourself a fair bit of money by being able to do those things. There's certain things that even I won't do. I've got a pretty good workshop set up here, but would I do a rebuild on a 4-stroke? Probably not. Would I, I have checked the valve clearances on a 4-stroke, but again, it's sort of with some sort of serious research and that sort of stuff. And anything to do with the internals of the engine too much, maybe replacing clutch baskets and that sort of stuff, I'll probably end up taking to a dealer. I've got friends that do all this sort of stuff, but it sort of starts to get a little bit dodgy. Can you get something wrong and cause a hand grenade in your bike, so to speak? So anything generally on the inside of the engine bar, obviously changing the oil filters, I'm probably leaving to the mechanics. But anyway, guys, I'm going to just bring the camera over here to the workbench, and I'll show you what sort of things I reckon you sort of need to have in the way of tools. Now, bear in mind that if you do go and buy tools, that you want tools that you can not only work on your bike at home and in the garage or in the shed, but also it's handy if they're nice and light and reasonably compact, and you can take them out on your bike as a tool kit. I'm going to do a video at some stage on the tools I carry on the AJP, and I'll do one on the 350 as well too. I always like to have a bike kit on the, tool kit on the bike all times, so I can change a tyre, have a spare tube, and just do minor maintenance stuff like, adjust a lever or something like that. But anyway, I'll grab the camera and we'll send it over here. We'll have a look at what I think you're going to need if you want to do maintenance on your own bike, and we'll go from there. So here we have some of the tools I reckon you're going to need. Certainly we'll start with tyre levers. You can buy these alloy ones with like removable, I call it spanner heads, I suppose you'd call them. Socket heads. This one's a 32, that's a 27. Ideally you try and buy a set of these so you can take your front wheel axle off and your rear wheel axle nuts off. So obviously this one's a 10mm, that's for my pinch bolts on my 350, and then I bought this one. This is actually a spanner for working on suspension, but it's got a 24, which is my rear axle nut size, and a 17, which is my front axle size. So all the Japanese bikes, of course, are metric. So yeah, that means with those 3 tyre levers and that, I can pull my wheel off and change a tyre, so to speak. A little sort of set of sockets like this is really good. This is a T-bar configuration, so that goes into that, and that goes through there. Makes a T-bar, and obviously you can use it both ways. It's got a 1/4-inch drive on there and a 1/4-inch drive on there. These, of course, have your Allen key heads, your Torx and your Phillips head, and a flat-bladed screwdriver head and some sockets. So these are really good. This was this unit thing here was $24 Australian from 24MX. I think 24MX are in Sweden, I think, somewhere there. Really reasonable, good quality tools at really cheap prices. Screwdrivers, this is the set that's in the workshop here, but I wouldn't take a set of screwdrivers like this on the motorbike. I'd rely on these sorts of products, just a T-bar with a Phillips head on it or a flat bladed. But in the workshop, it's really nice. Again, get this in a set. If you buy things in sets, they're always cheaper rather than buying the individual screwdrivers. I bought these all in a set of 8 different screwdrivers. Same with a lot of these things. If you can buy them in a set, you'll save a lot of money. This is a bit of an unusual one. This is called a drift. So it's just a bar for knocking out bearings and that sort of stuff. And the idea of it being brass is that it's softer than the bearings and not going to gouge your casings and your hubs and your bearing seats and all that sort of stuff. So it's just a slightly softer metal rather than having something mild steel or hardened steel or something like that that's going to damage things. And I like to have these about that long, about 450, 500 long, 18 inches long, something like that. I use these to knock the sleeves out when I'm doing the bearings in a hub and a wheel. I'll throw it in down where the axle goes and knock the spacer out, the sleeve space up, and then I can get to the bearings and knock the bearings out. So that's just a bit of brass rod from a local machine shop, and they actually have these sitting on the side because people use these sorts of things a lot, and so they have offcuts of this brass rod just sitting there. And I paid $20 for that from a local machine shop. A couple of sets of vice grips, again, like the screwdrivers, buy them in kits. You'll buy a kit of 3 or 4 different sizes, much cheaper, really handy for changing, putting links on chains and things like that, and just holding stuff still and just touching up things on the grinder and that. You can use them to do that sort of stuff. A set of circlip pliers, again, buying them in a kit if you can. These are a pretty standard size. I use these ones a lot. You'll need these to chew the front sprocket. Generally on the motorbikes, you'll have a front sprocket is held on by a circlip. A test light, absolutely invaluable if you've got an electrical problem. Had the situation when I was in Flinders Ranges Easter this year, whereby the ignition barrel gave up on the AJP and was shorting out or playing up, and we just managed to trace it back just by having a little test light there. It's probably a bit overboard to carry a multimeter, but certainly a test light will do 90% of what you need to do and help you sort of solve problems and find problems. A heat gun, you don't need to spend big monies on heat guns. This isn't a Zito brand in Australia here. That's a really cheap brand. But yeah, for heating up hubs on wheels so you can remove bearings, and just heating up swing arms when you want to punch out a bearing, it helps a lot if you heat the metal surrounding the bearing out. So that's what we mainly use the heat guns for. They're also good for doing decals on bikes, of course, as well. Going on to here, obviously you won't need to pump up tyres. Couple of options. You get the little 12-volt mini compressors like these ones. I generally don't carry them, but these can be handy in the workshop or out on the side of the road if you've got a flat tyre. I generally just carry something like this on the bike. If I'm going some places, I might carry a CO2 canister, but something like this will do the job. Takes a while, but it's just nice and light and simple, and it's very simple and cheap, and that's just a Lion brand. It's a really cheap one. Obviously, you need to check your tyre pressures, so a pressure gauge of some description is ideal as well. You can get the nice little pencil ones that are, this is my workshop pressure gauge. You can get the nice little pencil ones that are about the size of a pen, and they'll go in your tank bag really easily. So yeah, some sort of hammer, that's an old cabinet maker's hammer for hitting in brads, so little brads between your fingers. That's just one I had left laying around. I don't use anymore, so I find that really handy in the workshop. It's just a good weight. An old claw hammer, an old mash hammer. You don't have to spend money, just something that the handle doesn't break off and fling the head and hit someone in the head with it. Some plier sets, again, these come in a set. These were an absolute ripping little set, these ones. In fact, they came with this shifter as well. We call them shifters in Australia, adjustable wrench as they call them in America. But some pliers, multi-grips, so needle nose pliers, pointy nose pliers, standard pliers that have got a bit of grip to them. You can use them for crushing crimps and that sort of stuff, and also cutting wire. Pair of side cutters is really handy when you're doing the cable ties. You can just get in right beside the cable tie and not leave daggy bits hanging out. And a set of multi-grips. Again, as I say, these come in a kit. Some probably, you don't have to have, a complete set of ring spanners, but certainly ring spanners are really good. You can get, of course, the ratchet spanners these days quite cheap, which are well worth it as well too. Not sure about these flexible heads. They can be a little bit sort of a little bit difficult to deal with, but some sort of set of ring spanners is really good. Because sometimes you need the open-ended ringers. They've got little finer chunks, so if you're getting in a tight space, the little ringies and the open-enders can be really handy like that. And then last year was probably some sort of socket set. So this is a 1/2-inch drive and 1/4-inch drive socket set. So if we take out the ratchet here, that's a 1/4-inch drive, and it's a 3/8 drive, It's a 3/8 drive and a 1/4-inch drive socket set. Again, 24 MX, I bought this for $45, a really cheap little setup. And this one's sort of quite flexible in that you can shove that in there, turn it into a normal ratchet, a little short ratchet. You can pull that back and extend that out, or you can leave it sort of half out. So this one gives you a little bit more leverage, whichever end you're using. But the fact that it's 1/4-inch drive as well as 3/8-inch drive is really good, and that's a through drive as well too, so you can put it in the back of there as well if you want to. So yeah, this is a really good little setup, this one. Got the screwdriver head, so if you want to use this for flat bladed screwdrivers, for Phillips head screwdrivers, you've got Torx bits, you've got normal what do you call them, Allen key head bits. And so yeah, quite a great little setup, little extension bar for the 1/4-inch and an extension bar for the 3/8 and another smaller extension bar. So quite a good little setup. That actually goes into the back of that, creates like a little ratchet sort of effect. So yeah, you got all sorts of opportunities. This is just a good little sort of flexible set. Sometimes I'll take some of these out and put them, if I'm doing a big trip, I'll take a couple of these parts out and take that ratchet. That spark plug spanner suits my AJP, so I'll take some of these parts with me on the bike when I do bigger trips and I'm sort of going to be a bit more remote. But yeah, $45 for that, really cheap. But that's about it, guys. With these sorts of tools, you can sort of do most things in the workshop. As I say, change a tyre, repair a tube, fit a chain and sprockets, change the oil, disc brake pads and discs on the bike, yeah, and remove some bearings and replace bearings on wheels and swing arms and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's what I think you need. I reckon, you know, you wouldn't have to spend too much money to get these. As I say, you don't have to buy everything here, but you know, you do need some sort of screwdriver. There's a screwdriver there. You know, you can get away with maybe just a set of pliers and a pointy nose pliers. You might get away with not having some of these, but if you got all this, then you can do most things on the bike. All right, we'll leave it at that, I think, guys. So anyway, guys, I think that's a bit of a rough idea of what you need in a workshop. It's not a perfect science. I don't sit here and write scripts for myself and chop footage, so I make sure I get every single thing right. It's just a rough idea what I have in the workshop and what I generally use to do most maintenance items on the bike. If you can do those maintenance items that we talked about earlier, you'll save yourself a lot of money and make the whole process a lot more budget friendly. This is all about budget builds. This is not about going out and spending lots of money. So the next video will be about basically the 5 essential maintenance items that I talk about in bikes. We'll make sure everything's up to speed with that. I've done a video on that before, and then we'll sort of start to think about loading the bike up and what we need to take with us in the way of camping gear, and then how we pack it onto the bike. So that's the next video, and then the final video in the series will be actually taking the bike out, and it will be my first trip on the 350. With the hip surgery, and I'll probably a couple of more weeks. I won't be ready to go on a bike for maybe 2 or 3 more weeks. So yeah, it'll be my first trip on the 350, and it'll be my first trip back from hip surgery. So yeah, I'll be very excited to be going and doing that, that's for sure. It'll be absolute ripping fun. So I'll take another mate on, hopefully, who's got another 350. It'll be a good trip. So yeah, we'll get to go out and enjoy the fruits of our labour, shall we say. Anyway, guys, that's enough waffle from me. Thanks for watching. We'll hope to see you out on the trail soon.